Hello, my darlings. I'm Seren Briar, and welcome to BiteNotes, the recap show for the Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle ATL by night. Tonight, we look back at Season 4, Chapters 5 and 6. Now, let's sit back, relax, and recap a vampire story. Chapter 5, The Hierophant. With the rest of their coterie busy, Aaron and Anton have a boys' night. Anton revisits the idea of learning Oblivion from Aaron now that his blood has stabilized. Aaron still doesn't much like the idea, but he promises to consider it. Now that they know about Bishop Lydia, they decide to check in with Georgina, the Scourge, and Alima, the Seneschal. Georgina is available first, and they meet her at an arcade. It's loud enough that they can talk freely about vampire business without breaching the masquerade. Clarice is at the arcade as well, since it's her anniversary with Georgina. It turns out that as soon as the shepherds left the gala, 3 square miles of the city's cameras went out, including the area surrounding Little Trouble. Alpha has already told Georgina that Lydia's present in the city, and has instructed both her and Cirrus to leave her alone. Since Lydia is picking up strays as well, Alpha hopes that he can coordinate with other Camarilla cities and, using Lydia as bait, wipe out the Sabbat entirely.
You know what? I don't know what your job is as a shepherd. I believe you're supposed to bring all those people in, but, if they're real bad Sabbat, just fucking off them.
Gotcha.
I won't say anything.
That did not go so well for us the first time, but given the scenario, we may have to see.
Oh, that's that thing that Cirrus keeps talking about.
Pardon?
He asked me a bunch of, weird Malkavian questions, and then, I finally just asked him, and he said, he, ate one, and,
He did, yes.
Apparently he hears things sometimes.
What sort of things?
Commercial jingles? Oh. Or, I don't know. I have never done that, but, Tilly is real, serious about never doing that, so I imagine that sucks.
Wow, that is... If it were not so unfortunate, I would find it hilarious.
Sounds like it sucks, but occasionally I just get the goldfish theme stuck up here, and you know what? I like to live as the snack that smiles back, so I figure it's a blessing.
While waiting for Alima to become available, the boys walk around Piedmont Park. Anton knows someone else in the city who was recently abducted by the Second Inquisition, which unsettles Aaron to learn. Anton texts the entire court about the approximate location of where his friend was taken, somewhere in the area of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The chat blows up until Alpha puts a stop to it. The prince will handle this. Anton and Aaron talk with Alima about the plan for Bishop Lydia. Alima doesn't agree with connecting with other cities about the Sabbat. That would only draw more eyes to Atlanta, which they can't afford with the Renochery Camarilla. Alima's certain that they're playing a purely political game here. Lydia probably knows what they're doing by allowing her to live thus far, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Alima hopes that they can get the Sabbat and the Second Inquisition to take care of each other. Anton tries to tell Alima his suspicions about Jackson and Raphael, but she isn't convinced he has enough evidence. She's more wary of Dot, given that she's been having a number of guests lately, and the miles of cameras that went out in her domain. After they've visited Alima, Aaron explains more of his hesitations about trying to share Oblivion with Anton. The drawbacks of not being able to use modern technology and not being able to see himself in a camera or a mirror have hit him hard. He's become more impulsive and brash, and he doesn't like that about himself. He doesn't want to pass those aspects on to anyone, especially not someone as precise as Anton. He also doesn't like people feeding from him in general. Anton presses, telling Eren that he'd rather find out what might happen in a controlled environment than in an emergency, and promising him answers. Before it goes any further, Eren gets a text from the contact, telling him it's family game night. Eren decides he wants to visit Alejandro before he gives Anton an answer. When they arrive at Alejandro's house, it's absolutely pounding with bass from loud hip-hop music. The door is unlocked, and they walk in to find Alejandro struggling to read a book with all of the noise, and a young woman upstairs singing and dancing along to the music while she vacuums. The young woman is Alejandro's new child, Sybil. She's the one who's been pestering Eren with texts. It turns out that Sybil's only embraced about 4 months ago. She's kind of a baby. Alejandro was unaware of the Sabbat's presence in the city. It troubles him, but he urges Anton and Eren to remember that Sabbat are made, not born.
Not truly, not like shovelheads. Sabbat are made, and many Sabbat are made because something about them was in pain. And you need to remember that pain is what keeps us so close to humanity to still feel things the way we felt many years ago, some more so than others. But remember that the Sabbat are the way that they are, because at some point they needed it. And at some point they did not get the thing that they needed to keep them out of it.
And somebody with a better thing to offer showed up and offered it to them, offered them a way to get what they needed.
As all radicalization happens.
Sybil walks the boys out. Her existence is supposed to be kept under wraps due to the hiring freeze, and she's extremely bored. If they ever have any reason to help her get out of the house, she will take it. Anton desperately wants Eren to make a decision about teaching him Oblivion before they head home, and it becomes painfully clear that the decision he wants is a yes. Eren tries to explain the trauma he has from his sire and from being forcibly and punishingly fed upon by him.
You went through a traumatic experience with this. Yeah. And in turn, I wish to offer you a statement, a perspective, and an offer. I am not your sire. I would wager that there are not many that would be like him. What she went through was terrible, and I am sorry for it. But I am not him. Others are not him. And I do not wish to make this experience uncomfortable for you. But I wish to remind you that I am not him.
Yeah.
The perspective is that because I am not your sire, you will not be experiencing this. In fact, as I have not met with Thomasina in that way for some time, ironically enough, you would have the power in this situation. Not to say that you would do anything for it, but this is not a situation where I wield something over you.
Gotcha.
And what I offer is that should you need, I can remove the memory of this ever happening. Though I imagine that is a bit more invasive even than this may be for you.
Yeah.
But it is something that can be done.
Yeah.
I'm not the most apt at comforting talk, but this is what I give.
Okay. And I will bite into my wrist and extend it out.
And I'm going to take his hand. Close your eyes. And I will put the wrist to my mouth, and I will drink 1 hunger's worth, even though I'm not hungry, to see if I can learn Oblivion from Eren and see what happens from that.
Okay. A true sign of trust between two coterie mates. To allow one to participate in something so previously traumatic.
Anton drinks from Eren to gain power, breaking one of his convictions and staining his humanity. He immediately tries to use Oblivion Sight, but it doesn't work. When they arrive home, a black matte envelope is waiting for them, taped to their front door. Inside is an invitation to the Succubus Club, coming to Atlanta soon. Chapter 6. The Bitter Collapse. Sybil Salino-Foto, played by Sarah Lafferty, meets up with her new friend Pippa, a Tremere played by Hannah Murphy. There's a wrestling show tonight, and Pippa has heard rumors from other kindred that one of the wrestlers, Trevor Aeon, uses a demon persona that's more just a way to hide in plain sight.
We're going to go see a wrestler tonight.
I didn't know you were into pro wrestling. Is that a new thing that we're doing now?
So there's kind of a fascinating... There's a mythology to it that I just kind of find super fascinating, honestly. It's like a play on... You know how, like, there's drag? It's kind of like cis male drag, almost. It's really fascinating to watch, and there's really compelling storylines.
So this is like a scientific expedition that we're taking here.
Ish. Also, there's someone there tonight who might be, bitey inclined.
That's fair.
Yeah,
So-
no, I think it'll be interesting. If someone is...
Well, I mean, it's
you know-
obviously not anybody that we know. I don't really know anybody masquerading as pro wrestler. Last time I checked,
Great choice of
Pops
words.
isn't into that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, how do you manage that? Like, how do you manage that shit? Like, they got to break someone in half. I mean, that would also be interesting, to be honest. But, yeah, do you want to go?
Sybil knows that Alejandro won't let her go without a chaperone, so she texts Eren to see if he'll come with. He agrees and brings Anton and Thomasina along as well. While they wait for Eren and his friends, Pippa gives Sybil a cool rock. Sybil, as a baby, doesn't know better than to accept cool rocks from Tremere. When the shepherds arrive, Pippa startles. She had no idea Sybil's brother and his friends were the shepherds. They're celebrities among kindred. Pippa quickly pulls off her rosary and stashes it in her car before they can get a good look at her. After everyone's introduced, they settle in to watch the matches. The first one's pretty good, and Thomasina gets really into it. Anton sees that Talia the mage and Slaughter the inquisitive Garu are also here. Talia's clearly already drunk, and Slaughter has some Trevor Aeon merch. Pippa also has some other friends here, although they don't acknowledge each other. The second match isn't as good, leaving both Pippa and Thomasina disappointed. Anton manages to use Oblivion Sight for the first time, his eyes going completely black. Everyone in their group notices. Thomasina's obviously unhappy with this development, while Pippa's fascinated. Anton has something he shouldn't. He tries to pass it off as something he acquired during the final nights. It's time for Trevor Aeon's match. When he walks out, his presence is so overwhelming, it almost hurts.
It's uncomfortable. being in his presence, something feels like something sitting on your chest. This is grander than any kindred you've been around, and Sybil, you've been around your dad, who is quite powerful, and Thomasina, you've been around people much more powerful. And it almost hurts to be in the presence of this power. And for everyone else, you notice it, but it's not affecting you as much. But there is something much more intense about this guy than anything you've experienced before.
And I'm immediately curious. I'm going to rouse intelligence, and I'm good. And then I'm going to try to scry the soul on him as he walks up, because now I have to know.
Unfortunately, you can't get a read on just what he is. But he is definitely not kindred. And he's definitely not human. No matter how hard you try, the only thing you can be certain of is just that he is absolutely not human.
And I'm imagining he doesn't line up with anything else. I've met quite a few supernatural in this city. I imagine he's not lining up with any of them, or would be familiar to me.
The ones that you would be familiar with, changelings, mages, Garu, he's definitely not any of that.
And is that everything that I pull from him?
Yes,
Okay.
and your unexpected thing,
Yeah.
he has eaten recently, whatever that means.
Uh-huh.
He is satiated, so you don't get a read of anything like hunger from him. Everything about his demeanor and his personality is focused and determined and calm, very zen and hyped for the match that he is about to have.
Who exactly told you that this was one of us?
It's the word on the street that I've heard. Just, he's got groupies that follow him around.
And
Look
the,
on your face.
I mean, obviously, look at that.
and the word on the street is that he is one of us.
Yeah.
It's possible, but
No. No. No.
I mean, do demons exist?
I don't know the answer to that, Aaron, but I have met quite a few supernatural in the city. You have met most of the kinds I have met since you met me. And I have never met anything like that.
neither have I.
Trevor Aeon dominates his match, but isn't losing control. It's a fantastic show. Pippa is especially fired up. Her demeanor makes Anton curious, and he scries the soul on her. He learns that she has other friends at the match that she hasn't mentioned. Anton, eternally paranoid and distrustful, grows suspicious. Trevor Aeon finishes the match with his signature move, the Bitter Collapse. The lights go out, and when they come back up, he's gone. After that fantastic display, Pippa, Sybil, and Thomasina check out the merch table. The woman manning it is SC, Trevor Aeon's wife, who writes black vampire fiction. Pippa tries to find out what she knows about what Trevor actually is, but SC doesn't take the bait. The crowd has drastically dwindled for the final match. Sybil tries to make up for it by cheering as loudly as she can. Knowing exactly where Anton acquired Oblivion, Thomasina checks in on Aaron. He assures her that he's fine, but Anton seems off. Anton, still paranoid about Pippa's other friends, is busy asking Slaughter if she can sniff out any of the other kindred here. She's not able to pick anything out, but Anton agrees to give her his number. She's allowed to text him 3 questions a day. One of her questions turns out to be if Sybil is single. Sybil's not opposed to this. On their way out, Anton pulls Aaron aside. He hasn't felt right since he drank from Aaron, and there's been a consistent, distracting darkness and regret in his mind. He took advantage of Aaron and will do what he can to make it up to him. Aaron assures Anton that he trusts and forgives him, but reminds Anton to examine his intentions going forward. Thank you for tuning in to BiteNotes. Remember, liking, commenting, and subscribing does not violate the Masquerade. You can view full episodes of ATL by Night on our YouTube channel. We stream Tuesdays at twitch.tv/ATL by Night. Remember to support us on Patreon and follow us on Twitter. Until next time, good night.